Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this Q&A session. I am back with Monica and Inez. It is October 4th, 2021. Monica, do you want to start? I like this question.
Yeah, and you'll have to kind of guide me if I start telling story, because this is something that's like I'm in the middle of, and it's very emotional, and I'm feeling my feelings, and here we go. So how do I get past the what ifs of a situation that did not turn out the way that I expected it to, or that we were told it was going to work out?
Yeah. Can we talk about specifics of the situation?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So we had gone up to look at this cabin property,
Mm-hmm.
and it all was falling into place. We had put in an offer. The first offer, they said we put a 24-hour time limit on it, and they said,
Mm-hmm.
nope, we had another offer. We'd like to keep it open one more day until 5 p.m. and then we'll take best and final offers.
Mm-hmm.
So we put in our best and final offer. We were happy with the number. We said, you know what, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be, walk away number, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
We got a phone call from our real estate agent saying your offer was accepted. We're waiting on the paperwork to come by, but as soon as that comes in and you initial everything, it's yours. So, it's yours. And then the next morning, we got another phone call from our realtor that they had told us that they accepted our offer, but they instead got a different offer while in the meantime and accepted it and went with them and didn't communicate any of that to us until it was all done the next morning. So
Mm-hmm.
we spent a whole night thinking that we had had the property, and then it didn't turn out the way that we expected.
Yeah. Okay. And so tell me, what are the what ifs?
The what ifs are, what if we had written them a personal letter saying, this is our family's here. We've been coming up here since I was a baby and slept in a drawer in the cabin down the road, and what if we had, we had contacted somebody that knew these people before they were going to sell, and we thought that they had said to them like, hey, contact them before you put it on the market, but we didn't really follow up with that enough, so then it did go to the market. What if we would have offered $10,000 more or whatever? Those what ifs.
Yeah. And that's where it comes to having the like this comes to what you've been working on, which is your trust muscle, right? And trusting that it likely wasn't anything that you did, it just wasn't aligned, even though it's this amazing thing and you really want it, right? For all of the right reasons, that it's not aligned to, even though you haven't done the future self work yet, we're always doing the future self work, is what I say, right? We don't have to be doing the workshop. Like, you're expanding and growing into your future self even before that. And it's just, it wasn't aligned with who you're becoming, which sounds so weird because this is like, I want this plate, like this is perfect, this is our life, this is all of this. And it's really trusting your alignment. And so I don't use the term like, oh, it wasn't meant to be, or trusting like, oh, it just wasn't. I now, having been through experiences like that, I don't know if you've read, but I'm not sure where it is, but it is in the Enchanted Circle somewhere, where there was this condo that I wanted, like all the things were right. And it took me a year or more to realize like, oh, I'd already outgrown that. But it was like, oh, I want that, right?
Right. Like it is the thing.
It
Like
is the
who else
thing.
would this be perfect for? It's only
Yes.
perfect for us. Like for
Yes.
whatever, all the different reasons. But yeah, it's and I feel like I'm definitely at the point where I know that intellectually and I
Mhm.
trust that that's the case, but it's the and I know it's needing to feel the feelings about it to kind of not get stuck in that, but it's frustrating. It's so
Yeah.
maddening. And I also know that it's not just saying like trusting the process and stuff doesn't mean that you don't have the feelings. Like it doesn't mean like it's all sunshine and rainbows or whatever.
Right.
And you don't have to go through the feelings of it. But
Mhm.
it's just really
It sucks. It doesn't feel
sucks.
good.
It
Yeah.
does not feel good. Yeah.
No. And it gets to not feel good and it gets to suck. And if you're angry that like what was that agent doing that you wouldn't call and
I
see if you
mean,
could get it better out, right? Like what was happening? You get to feel all the feelings about that, right? Like you get to go through the whole process of the anger and the sadness and the grieving it like because you had that moment of like it's happening, right? And you get
mhm.
to grieve all of that. And the key is just to like, let the what ifs, as long as the what ifs are like not fueling the feelings, but fueling the feelings, right? The only danger we get into is when the what ifs start to like take us out of the feeling, right? But if it's like, oh, what if we had written that personal letter? And then you go feel the feelings about that, right? Like
Yeah.
the disappointment, the anger, the whatever, the sadness that, oh, I didn't think of doing that, right? Then it's okay. It's the problem comes when the what ifs start to let us off the hook for feelings, right? And we get so in the what ifs that we, what if that realtor had been better? Well, and we get too far down that path, right? And make it about um, the realtor, all those other things.
Right.
And it it sucks and it gets to suck and you get to feel it. And you just get to know the thing that can't be taken away from this situation is that you have a real life feeling and experience of what it's like to be having that cabin, right? That 24
Yeah.
hours of this is happening is practice and you can't take that away for building on the when it whatever's coming, right?
Yeah, and that's I for a while I was telling myself like, "Oh, just keep focusing on that and keep focusing on that." And then I was like, "No, I need to like feel the grief that this did not I mean that it didn't happen and to have both of those feelings at the same time and that I a story of mine is to want to push my feelings away and say, "Oh, just focus on the positive." But I don't want to do that.
Good. Don't do that. You have to grieve it, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was that dream that was right there. And even
Mhm.
when it works out someday or you figure out why, you still have to grieve it. Because the truth is, if you don't grieve it now, you won't even see the how it like you'll be so stuck in
Yeah.
that, right? And then what happens, and this is for you, but everybody else listening, because I think you get this, what happens is then we get stuck in the wanting and the anger that we don't
Mhm.
have it, which is just creating more not having it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Versus,
didn't think about that. Yeah.
yeah, feeling through it. We get to feel through it and know. But that feeling, that grief is what opens the door and gets us out of that. Oh, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not, and which is then creating that story that we don't want, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I know I've heard you coach other people through this, but I feel like I have to say it out loud and hear it in my own ears.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't cause this to happen, did I? That I mean, I didn't do something energetically. I even as I'm saying it, I know the answer, but I want to hear
You
it.
want to hear it, right? Yeah.
I didn't do anything energetically to make this not happen or
No, I mean, yes and
yeah,
no, right? So you didn't do
yeah.
anything to make this deal fall apart. We will someday see how there was something bigger or there was something different. Like yes, you did, but in a good way, right? Because
Yeah.
you're creating. And so you're creating whatever is next, whatever's behind this, but not in a blame, like in a, you will get to that day and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what I was creating instead. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But there was nothing you could have done different in this moment. You didn't create them accepting the offer, not accepting the offer. You didn't create that by anything that you did or didn't do. You showed up, you followed your intuition, you said yes, and something isn't aligned for this yet. And I'm super excited, even though it might be like a little while in the making. I'm excited to see what it is.
Yeah, me
Even though
too.
you might not be at that point. It's good if you are, but you
Yeah.
don't even have to be at that point yet, right? Where it's
Yeah.
exciting. It's okay to just be like, I want it now. I don't care what else is coming.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. But you did not, there was nothing you could have done different to make it happen.
Yeah. And like I said, I know all these things in my head. It's just the, feeling through it, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
We all need
Yeah.
reminders, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to remind myself, like, but nope, that's not why that worked out. This is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
No, you followed that. You followed your inspiration. You did this, you did that. And it's all being created. Just sometimes we don't get to pick out the exact pieces that are being created.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it was so fun, like my husband and I had so much fun in the whole thing until the end.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
exactly.
whole thing
Yeah.
up until the end was super fun, and we were just like having so much fun with it, and just kept telling each other, like, I'm just so happy that we're doing this together. It's so fun to have this adventure. And so I know there's good parts. And I'll focus on those later too.
Yeah, exactly. You get to
Yeah.
focus on those later, right? They don't have
Yeah.
to erase what doesn't feel good now. You get to feel what
Yeah.
doesn't feel good, and then you get to remember and connect to what did feel good.
Yeah, it can be both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited to see what happens. Inez, what questions do you have? I love these.
Yeah, being fresh from the future self workshop, our next task in brackets is to do nothing. And for me, it's like, okay. So it's similar to a meditation when you say don't think anything, and I question myself, so what do I think? No, it's really, how do I know that doing nothing then turns into being called into doing, and so that I know that my future self is guiding me?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, you have evidence that and I would change the wording first off. I wouldn't say it is do nothing, right? What I would say is a commitment to only following inspired action, or to only following inspiration, because then it's a commitment. It's not do nothing so I want to do something. It's being committed to something. Like, I'm committed to not take action until it's fully inspired, or I'm committed to only follow inspiration. And the evidence that you have is like right out of your script, right? There's someone like this day on your calendar, somebody is saying, will you be my mentor? Like, it's all the things that it's part of what you want. Like, it literally showed up on your calendar, right? And so it's just practicing that commitment to, I'm going to take inspired action, not do nothing, because when you're called, then you want to go for it, right? So whether it's a inspiration to, I don't know, clear certain days on your calendar, or it's an inspiration to call somebody, or it's an inspiration to throw out an offer on LinkedIn, that you create in 5 minutes, you want to be all into that. And so it's not doing nothing. It's really just holding that commitment to following inspiration and allowing your future self to guide you. And you get to learn, right? In this moment, it's really kind of a trust game. You get to learn, oh, that sitting and being committed to only doing inspired things leads to being called to the next thing and that next whisper and that next inspiration.
Yesterday, I saw an invitation and I clicked on an advert, what I usually don't do. And this was a entrepreneurial event in Berlin in November, where there are going to be only female entrepreneurs, and you can apply as a female entrepreneur and you can apply as a female expert to support those entrepreneurs. And I haven't applied yet, so the application is until 10th of October. And I just really was wondering, is this inspiration? Should I do nothing? And I just said, well, I leave it and I wait, because that's the situation. I scripted in Paris, which is just unbelievable. Yeah, and we'll see.
Yeah, and that's perfect. Because when we can put it down, if it keeps coming back, that's how we know it's inspiration. Like when we put it down, like I'm not filling it out today, right? Yeah. And then tomorrow, if you're thinking about it in the shot, like, oh yeah, I should apply for that, right? And you put it down again. And then you keep putting it down until all of a sudden, just like you clicked on it and you never click on it, that you're like, oh, I'm all of a sudden filling out the application, right? Without thinking about it or what it gets you. And for now, it's just evidence that you never click on advertisements, and the exact one you click on is exactly what you scripted.
That's such a huge evidence. It's so unbelievable. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
I love it. Does that one feel complete for now?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Was there another one? Or does this tie into that? How do I know or understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
Perfect. Amazing. Any other questions pop up for you two out of those ones? All right. Well, thank you both. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction, Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.